Okay, I want to tell you a story. It's about a loan for just $27. Now, this loan was so radical, so completely absurd that literally everyone predicted it would fail. But what happened? Well, that tiny loan didn't just succeed. It actually ended up changing the world. You'll never see that money again. That's what they said. You know, that's the voice of doubt, right? The same old conventional wisdom you hear anytime a radical new idea comes along. It was this huge barrier that had to be shattered. And, well, it really sets the stage for a revolution. So, to really get why this was so out there, we need to go back. Let's head to a small village in Bangladesh back in 2004. You've got this group of women, right? Full of incredible entrepreneurial spirit, ready to work. But they were up against a massive systemic problem, basically an unbreakable barrier to a better life. And here's the fundamental problem, the big divide. Traditional banks, you know how they work. They require collateral, you need to have assets, property, something valuable to secure a loan. But these women, they had the skills, they had the ideas, but they had zero collateral. So in the eyes of the entire financial system, they were just unbankable. The door to getting any capital at all was just slammed shut. Okay, but this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. There's this economics professor, and he sees this completely impassable wall, and he decides to do something. Not as some big institution, but just as one person. He decides he's going to run a simple personal experiment. And I mean it. This wasn't some huge funded project. It was just one guy, Yunus, personally challenging the entire financial establishment's idea of what risk even means. He was placing a bet on human potential, where all the banks could see was a liability, a bad bet. And the amount that started it all, get this, $27, not 27,000, not 27 million, just 27 bucks. Pulled right from his own pocket. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Such a tiny number to kickstart a global revolution. So he takes that $27 and he splits it among 42 different women. 42 aspiring entrepreneurs who had been told again and again by the system that they just weren't worth the risk. And if you break that down, I mean, when you do the math, that's just 64 cents per person. 64 cents. Just think about that disconnect for a second. The so-called risk was so high that banks wouldn't lend them a single penny, but the actual cash they needed to get started was less than $1 each. It's mind-boggling. All right, so Yunus makes the loan. He completely defies all the so-called experts who told him, you'll never see that money again. The experiment is officially on. And the result? Well, let's just say it was something absolutely no one in the traditional banking world saw coming. So here's the million-dollar question. Or, I guess the $27 question, did he get his money back? I mean, the entire premise of the banking system kind of rested on the answer. Were all those skeptics about to be proven right? He got every single cent back. A perfect 100% repayment rate. It turns out the women who were labeled unbankable were actually the most reliable borrowers you could possibly find. But honestly, here's the most important part. Because repaying the loan, that was just the beginning. That tiny bit of capital was like planting a seed. With it, these women started and grew their own businesses. They created stability, they put more food on the table for their families, and, this is so critical, they invested in the next generation by sending their kids to school. So obviously, an experiment this successful couldn't just stay a one-time thing. It was proof of a concept that was way too powerful to ignore. It was like an acorn that was just waiting to grow into a massive, global forest of opportunity. And the growth was just explosive. That little $27 loan, it became the foundation for what's now known as the Grameen Bank. And today, that bank has lent over $30 billion. Think about that. $30 billion. And in the process, it's fundamentally changed the lives of 9 million people and their families. And for anyone out there who still thinks, oh, this is just a nice charity, check this out. Grameen Bank maintains a staggering 98% repayment rate. That's not just good. In many cases, it's significantly better than most traditional commercial banks. This proved, once and for all, this wasn't just a social good. It was a rock-solid financial model. And yeah, the world definitely took notice. It was just 2 years. Only 2 years after that tiny loan that Yunus and the Grameen Bank were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. That really cemented this idea, right? It wasn't some fringe experiment anymore. It was a legitimate, powerful force for global change. So when you really look at it, this story is about so much more than just money or banking. This little experiment revealed a really profound truth about what poverty actually is, its true source. This right here, this is the heart of it all. Yunus proved that the problem was never a lack of talent, or lack of effort, or lack of integrity from people in poverty. Nope, the problem was the system, a system that simply refused to give them the basic trust and opportunity it gave to pretty much everyone else. So what was the secret ingredient in this whole thing? It comes down to one word: belief. And I don't mean just a passive feeling like, oh, I hope this works out. I mean belief as an active catalyst. It's the thing that unlocks all that human potential when the systems we've built just completely fail. Which, brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. What does a story like this actually mean for you and me? I think the ultimate takeaway is this. Real transformation doesn't always need massive institutions or billions of dollars to get started. Sometimes it all begins with just one person deciding to believe in another, with one small action that everyone else on the planet thinks is too small to even matter. So the question this leaves us with is pretty personal. What small act of belief, what tiny investment in someone's potential might you be overlooking in your own life? Because that might be exactly where your own world-changing legacy is hiding.